The government do not want you to know or see this. Been hidden from the public for some time now. Welcome to the real Chernobyl. Here's a 2021 view of the shelter construction covering the exploded reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear plant in Ukraine. More than 3 decades earlier, it was the site of history's worst nuclear disaster. A satellite image with overlaid graphics shows military vehicles alongside the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine. The picture was taken February 25, 2022, just over a day after Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine. That's how the real control desk of the Chernobyl plant looked on April 18, 1986, just days before the disaster. Here's an aerial shot taken after the explosion, while the facility was still burning. It burned for roughly 10 days. Here are 2 brave photographers who took the first pictures of the Chernobyl disaster from a helicopter in April 1986. Here's another helicopter shot, this one taken a few days after the catastrophe. The site has since been domed by a protective cover. Soviet television showed, on April 30, 1986, this picture of the Chernobyl plant on which a half-destroyed building could be seen. However, the media insisted there had been no destruction, nor gigantic fires nor thousands of casualties. This undated picture, sent by Soviet television, show a man injured in the blast of number 4 reactor of Ukrainian Chernobyl nuclear plant. By October 1986, the number 4 reactor, the crux of the disaster, was emptied as a part of an ongoing cleanup and security effort. In October 1989, a local woman holds up a disabled newborn pig, victim of the radioactive fallout. A sign advertises vegetables as free of contamination in a market in May 1986. God, it rains, reads the graffiti above the symbol for radioactivity on the wall of a house near Frankfurt, Germany, in May 1986. Ground-level radioactivity from nuclear fallout after the Soviet nuclear disaster rose significantly after weekend rains. A nurse at a children's health clinic in Warsaw administers an iodine solution to a 3-year-old girl held in her mother's arms in Poland in May 1986. Protective measures were taken for possible radiation poisoning from the Soviet nuclear accident. Soviet refugees are checked for radioactivity at a Vienna airport on April 30, 1986. A Swedish farmer wearing anti-atomic gear shifts fodder contaminated by the radioactive cloud of Chernobyl in June 1986. The evacuation of 47,000 inhabitants of Pripyat, in 1,200 buses and 200 trucks, only took a few hours. Locals believed they would be returning several days later. Instead, it became a ghost town. A worker wearing a protective overalls and mask works with boxes of contaminated vegetables on the landfill in Berlin in May 1986. These vegetables were banned by local authorities. Firefighters in protective suits cleaned cars at the German border in May 1986. The cars were coming from Poland and were largely contaminated. Oksana Gabin, Wright, 17, and Alla Kozimirka, 15, both victims of the disaster, receive infrared radiation treatment in Cuba in December 1986. Kathleen McIntyre of the Brookhaven National Laboratory Radiology Assistance Program demonstrates the use of a thyroid gland tester for radiation on a tourist who returned from the Soviet Union in New York in May 1986. 31 New Yorkers who came within 80 miles of the Soviet nuclear accident returned home 3 days early. Roswitha Freiser, who had a stall in the Frankfurt market for 25 years before the disaster, holds up a poster that reads, "The atoms have destroyed us," in May 1986. Marina Pappas, left, and Krissa Livanos, both mothers of students who returned from Kiev, hold up T-shirts reading, "Kiev was a blast 1986, at Kennedy International Airport in New York in May 1986. 20 high school students and 11 adults from Long Island, who came within 80 miles of the Soviet nuclear accident, returned home 3 days early. The residents of Pripyat never returned to their homes, businesses, pets. Here are some abandoned hotel rooms in the now ghost town in 2017. Today tourists often visit the town on specially organized tours from Kiev. Rusting equipment lies among peeling walls in a room at the abandoned city hospital on September 30, 2015 in Pripyat, Ukraine. Pripyat lies only a few kilometers from the site of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant and was built in the 1970s to house the plant's workers and their families. Today Pripyat is a ghost town, its apartment buildings, shops, restaurants, hospital, schools, cultural center and sports facilities derelict and its streets overgrown with trees. The city lies in the inner exclusion zone around Chernobyl. A rusting crib containing a baby doll and blanket sits in the Pripyat hospital maternity ward, decades after the disaster. Hot spots of persistently high levels of radiation make this area uninhabitable for thousands of years to come. A doll and shoes lay on a bench in a nursery school in Pripyat in April 2016, 30 years after the disaster. A schoolbook lies on a pupil's desk next to a Cold War-era gas mask in a classroom of abandoned school number 3. Today, a partially constructed and abandoned cooling tower stands at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Shot was taken in Pripyat in 2017. It shows a Geiger counter reading 679,000 counts per minute near a metal clock contaminated with radioactivity. The new safe confinement sarcophagus covers the destroyed reactor on November 29, 2016. Visitors walk next to the new dome over the fourth block of the Chernobyl nuclear plant in Chernobyl on October 5, 2018. The photo was taken ahead of the official opening ceremony of a new 1-megawatt power plant. In April 2018, tourists walk in a symbolic alley with signs bearing names of villages and cities evacuated following the Chernobyl disaster. A woman in a Ukrainian folk costume lays flowers to the Chernobyl victims' monument in the capital city of Kyiv, Ukraine, on April 26, 2021. That date marked the 35th anniversary of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Thanks for watching.